Part 1-6, The Brain Behind Goal Pursuit. All right, let's take a few minutes to walk through something that most of us deal with every day, even if we don't realize it. Goal setting and how our brains help us chase after what we want. Now, there are two main reasons why it's actually worth understanding the brain science behind goal pursuit. First, it's just plain fascinating. Our brains are wired in such a smart, almost beautiful way to help us lock on to goals and chase them down. And second, this one's even more practical. Once you know how the system works, it becomes way easier to adjust and personalize strategies to fit your life. It's like having a manual for your own motivation. So let's break this system down. When it comes to goal setting and pursuit, there are four key areas in the brain that do most of the heavy lifting. Yes, there are other connections and regions involved, but these four are the core control centers: the amygdala, the basal ganglia, the lateral prefrontal cortex, the orbitofrontal cortex. Let's unpack these one by one. 1. The amygdala, the emotional alarm system. You've probably heard the amygdala mentioned in the context of fear and anxiety, and that's absolutely part of what it does. But there's more to the story. You actually have two amygdala, one on each side of your brain, and they're involved in regulating arousal, not just in terms of fear, but in terms of excitement, anticipation, alertness, basically your general emotional engagement. So when you're feeling anxious about a goal or pumped up to start something new, that's your amygdala lighting up. It's signaling your brain to pay attention, either because there's something to be cautious about or something exciting to move toward. It's not always a bad alert system, it's a readiness system. 2. The basal ganglia, the green light, red light system. Next up is the basal ganglia. This area includes multiple structures, but for our purposes, there are two big functions you need to know about. The go pathway. Think of this as your brain's green light. It helps initiate actions. When you decide, okay, I'm going to do this, that's the go pathway kicking in. The no-go pathway. This is the red light. It helps you stop doing something or withhold an action, like resisting the urge to scroll through your phone instead of working. Most goals involve both of these systems. For example, if you're learning something new, you need to engage the go pathway to take action, but you also need the no-go pathway to stop yourself from doing unhelpful things. It's a constant dance between do this and don't do that. 3. The lateral prefrontal cortex, the planner. This part of your brain helps with planning both short-term and long-term. It's the part that visualizes your calendar, sets deadlines, and helps you keep promises to your future self. It's also critical in time perception, which is huge when we talk about goal setting. Why? Because knowing where you are on the path toward your goal, whether you're just getting started halfway through or nearly there, helps you adjust and stay on course. 4. The orbitofrontal cortex, the evaluator. Finally, the orbitofrontal cortex acts kind of like your emotional feedback system. It's always checking in and asking, how do I feel about this? Am I making progress? Or am I stuck and frustrated? It helps you interpret how you're feeling during the goal pursuit process. If you're making progress, you'll likely feel some level of satisfaction. But if you're struggling, this part of your brain picks that up and might make you feel agitated or disappointed. Why this matters so much? What's wild and honestly really comforting is that everyone uses this same goal-setting machinery. Whether your goal is to lose weight, get a promotion, write a novel, fix your sleep, or just get better at relaxing. Yes, that's a goal too. The same brain systems are involved, and that's powerful. Because if we all have this same hardware, then tools that are designed to work with it are universally useful. You don't have to rely on trial and error hacks. You can lean on actual neuroscience. Choosing the right goal. Don't chase everything at once. So now that we understand the biological wiring, let's zoom out and ask the big question. What goal should I pursue? This might sound simple, but it's where a lot of people trip up. Too often, we try to chase multiple goals at the same time: get fit, eat better, meditate, learn Spanish, clean the garage, fix our sleep schedule, and start journaling all at once. It's tempting, but this shotgun approach almost always leads to burnout or failure. That's why the idea of priority matters so much. Not priorities, plural. One true priority, something you place above all else during a given stretch of time. This doesn't mean you neglect the rest of your life or let your physical and mental health fall apart in the process. It just means you choose one thing to lean into with real focus. The rest can still run in the background, but you put your primary energy into one clear pursuit. Defining your priority goal. So how do you choose your one priority? Here's a simple exercise. Write down the 3 out of 5 things you want to improve or work toward. Cross out the ones you're willing to delay. Circle the one that makes you feel something. Excitement, fear, longing, whatever grabs your gut. That's your priority. Of course, your choice is going to depend on your values, current situation, and available time or resources. But this process of elimination helps you zero in on what actually matters most right now. Lofty goals work better than easy ones. Here's where it gets interesting and maybe a little counterintuitive. People often think, I'll just pick an easy goal to get some momentum. But studies show that goals that are a little out of reach actually work better. Why? Because easier goals don't activate your arousal system enough. They don't wake up that alertness machinery in your brain that kicks motivation into gear. Harder goals, even ones that feel slightly uncomfortable or ambitious, spark emotional energy. They cause a healthy amount of stress and friction, which in turn activates something called neuroplasticity. That's the brain's ability to rewire itself. And guess what triggers it? Struggle, mistakes, frustration, the very feelings that make you want to give up. In other words, when you feel stuck, that's your brain opening the door for change. That's where we'll pause for now. Part 2 for 6. Turn your goal into action, the verb method. So now that you've locked in your priority, the one goal you're going to focus on, it's time to move from thinking to doing. And this next step is what separates daydreaming from real progress. It's all about action verbs. A lot of people set goals like, I want to be rich, I want to be fit, I want to speak another language. Those are nice-sounding outcomes, but they're too vague. There's no clear instruction in them, no motion. Your brain needs a verb to latch on to, something it can do. So instead of saying, I want to be fit, you break it down into something like, I will run 5 miles every week. I will lift weights 3 times a week for 60 minutes each session. That's a verb. That's measurable. That's direction. Let's dig into how you can do that for your own goal. Step 1. Put it on paper. Sounds old school, right? But science backs this up. Writing by hand actually engages the brain more deeply than typing on a phone or computer. There's something about putting pen to paper that signals to your brain, hey, this matters. So take out a notebook and at the top of the page, write your priority goal. Let's say it's, I want to learn conversational French. That's the outcome. Now we're going to break it into verbs. Step 2, define the verb that delivers the result. Think, what's the actual doing part of your goal? If your goal is language learning, the verbs could include attend one live French class per week, practice French on Duolingo for 15 minutes a day, watch one French video with subtitles every Tuesday and Thursday, practice speaking French with a language partner for 30 minutes every Sunday. See how that works? It's no longer vague. These are clear, doable actions that add up to the big result. Same thing for fitness. Don't just write, get strong. Write, go to the gym 3 times per week for 60 minutes. Complete 4 sets of compound lifts, bench press squats, etc. Do 20 minutes of cardio after every strength session. You're now engineering progress, not just hoping for it. Step 3. Set a weekly commitment. Once you've identified your verbs, the core behaviors, you now want to assign time to them. Because even clear actions can fail without structure. So let's say you've picked goal, learn conversational French. Verb, speak French. Weekly commitment, I'll speak French for 30 minutes every Sunday with a language partner. Now, you're getting into the measurable zone. That's where motivation lives. The science on this is crystal clear. The more specific and measurable your goals are, the more likely you are to hit them. In fact, there's a classic study on recycling behaviors in the workplace. When people were simply told to recycle more, barely anything changed. But when people were given clear instructions like put plastic containers in the blue bin after lunch every day, the amount of recycling more than doubled. It's not that people didn't care before, it's that specificity drives action. So, whether your goal is about health, learning, work, or relationships, get ultra specific. Step 4, use smart thinking, but smarter. You've probably heard of SMART goals before. Specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, time-bound. And while it's a helpful framework, I'd argue we go a step further. Let's make it smarter. E for emotional. It should matter to you deeply. R for reviewable. You should check in on it regularly. That emotional piece is key. If your goal doesn't spark something in you, whether it's passion, fear, frustration, or desire, it won't survive resistance. And that's what we're about to dive into next. Let's talk about resistance. Here's a question you need to ask yourself regularly, especially before a training session or work block. Do I want to do this today? That question has 2 levels. Do I want to achieve this goal long term? Do I feel like doing the actual work today? If the answer is yes to both, great, you're good to go. But what if the answer is yes to number 1 and no to number 2? You want the goal, but you're not feeling the grind today. That's where most people trip. 2 different strategies, depending on motivation level. If you're feeling motivated, before you start your work session, writing, lifting, studying, whatever it is, take 1 to 3 minutes to visualize the outcome. Imagine how you'll feel when the goal is completed. Picture the result, how proud you'll be, how much easier your life might be, how good it'll feel to prove yourself right. That small burst of future pride is incredibly energizing. But if you're not feeling motivated, here's where it gets real. Visualizing success actually won't help you. Instead, do this, spend 1 to 3 minutes Visualizing failure, think about how you'll feel if you don't follow through. Think about what it would mean to waste another week, another month. Imagine the disappointment, the self-doubt creeping in. Sounds intense, right? But it works. Studies show that negative visualization is more effective for overcoming procrastination than pumping yourself up with "you can do this" affirmations. Because when your brain feels no urgency, it defaults to comfort. A little fear kicks it into motion. Motivation is about motion. Here's the core insight. Motivation is a feeling that follows movement, not the other way around. Don't wait to feel motivated. Start moving, start the behavior, and the feeling will follow. This is where that visual focus protocol can also help. More on that in the next part. It's a behavioral trick to increase energy and focus without any caffeine supplements or hype. But for now, here's your action plan. Quick recap your takeaways so far. Pick one priority goal, not five. One. Write it down on paper, in ink. Define the verb. What's the main action that will move you forward? Assign time. How many hours per week? How often? Check in daily. Ask, do I want to do this? If yes, visualize success. If no, visualize failure. You're no longer setting goals. You're training your brain to achieve them. Part 3.6, Sparking and Sustaining Motivation inside the daily work block. All right. Now that we've got your priority goal defined, broken into verbs, and measured in weekly action, let's get to what really matters: doing the work. Not just once or twice, but over and over again until it becomes second nature. Because here's the truth. Setting a goal is the easy part. Pursuing it day after day, that's where most people quit. And they don't quit because they're lazy or weak. They quit because they don't understand how to manage daily motivation. They don't have a system for getting into the zone, especially when it gets hard or boring. That's where this next set of tools comes in. The motivation myth, waiting to feel ready. Let's kill this idea. Once and for all, you do not need to feel motivated to take action. In fact, action often comes before motivation, not the other way around. It's like lighting a fire. You strike the match and then the flame starts, not the reverse. So how do you spark that flame, especially when you're not feeling it? Let's go step by step. Step 1, the motivation check-in. Before each training session or work block, ask yourself, on a scale of 1 to 10, how motivated am I right now? Don't overthink it. Just answer honestly. If you're at a 6 or above, you're good to go. Use that momentum. If you're below a 4, that's when the tools we talked about earlier come in. Visualize failure. Think about the pain of not showing up for yourself. Tap into fear, not to hurt yourself emotionally, but to jolt your nervous system into movement. And if you're somewhere in the middle, like a 5, still move forward. Start small. Open the laptop. Tie the shoes. Get moving. Step 2, prime your focus, visual targeting. Here's a powerful science-backed trick that almost nobody uses. It's called visual target training, and it works by using your eyes, yes, literally, your eyes, to control your brain state. Let's break it down. When you narrow your visual focus like staring at a single point, it sends a signal to your brainstem to release alertness chemicals. Dopamine, norepinephrine, epinephrine. All the stuff that helps you lock in and get moving. Here's how to use it. Sit or stand in your workspace. Pick a visual point to focus on a corner of your laptop, a small mark on your notebook, a spot on the wall. Set a timer for 30 to 90 seconds. Keep your eyes softly but steadily focused on that point. Breathe normally. You can blink. This isn't a staring contest. This does two things. It increases systolic blood pressure slightly, which amps up your physical and mental readiness. It releases alertness chemicals that nudge your brain into action. And here's the best part. It costs nothing. No supplements, no apps, no hacks, just your eyes and 60 seconds of stillness. You can do this at the beginning of your learning session, midway through when your energy dips, or anytime you feel yourself drifting. If you've ever seen elite performers zone in before a race or match, they're often doing something like this, narrowing their vision to narrow their thoughts. Step 3. Break the hour into chunks. Let's say you've got a 1-hour session lined up. Maybe it's writing, studying, working out, or learning a skill. Don't try to blast through it with a just grind mentality. Instead, break it into 3 parts. First, 20 minutes. Ride the initial wave of energy or motivation. Use visual focus to stay locked in. Middle, 20 minutes. This is where energy often drops. Time to lean into micro goals. Break the work into smaller parts. Use visual targeting again if needed. Final 20 minutes. Push toward a finish line. This is where your brain sees the end coming and naturally ramps up dopamine again. This structure is scientifically aligned with your attention rhythms. It also helps you avoid the dreaded middle slump, which we'll talk more about in Part 6. And yes, you can even break those 20-minute chunks into smaller ones if needed. The key is to always have a next target, something immediate to hit. Step 4, use panoramic vision for recovery. Now here's the flip side of visual focus panoramic vision. When you're done with a chunk of work, or you're feeling eye strain, mental fatigue, or just blah, do this. Look away from your task. Let your gaze soften. Try to take in the entire room, the floor, the ceiling, the corners, all at once. Breathe deeply and slowly. What this does, turns off the alertness chemical release for a moment, lets your nervous system reset, helps clear mental fog so you can come back stronger. Do this for 30 seconds to 2 minutes. Then return to narrow focus and go again. This alternating pattern, narrow focus, panoramic, rest, narrow focus, mirrors your brain's natural rhythm. You're not fighting biology, you're using it. Step 5. Respect the power of physical space. Where you work matters. Your brain forms associations between environments and activities. If you always scroll social media at your desk, it'll be harder to write a book there. If you always watch YouTube on your couch, it'll be harder to learn a new skill in that same spot. So here's what to do. Choose a dedicated space for your goal pursuit. Make it sacred. No distractions. No multitasking. Even better, add rituals to it. Light a candle, play the same song, wear the same shoes. This isn't superstition. It's cue-based learning. Your brain goes, oh, it's time for work. Let's get serious. Step 6, turn off the biggest distraction. You already know what it is. Your phone. Seriously. If you do one thing today, do this. Turn your phone off completely. Leave it in another room. Tell someone to hide it if necessary. As Tim Ferriss said, the best productivity app is airplane mode. And if you absolutely must have it nearby, say for emergencies, Then turn it face down, notifications off, Wi-Fi off, and place it somewhere out of arm's reach. Every time you avoid a distraction, you build trust with yourself. You build what I call focus integrity, and that's what leads to long-term results. Recap how to stay focused and motivated in daily sessions. Here's your checklist. Check in with your motivation level, 110. Use positive or negative visualization accordingly. Prime your brain with visual focus. 90 seconds. Break your session into chunks. Avoid the middle slump. Rest with panoramic vision to recharge. Use a consistent distraction-free space. Kill distractions at the source, phone tabs, etc. All of this isn't about being perfect. It's about getting better at showing up. That's what separates people who reach their goals from people who just talk about them. Part 4.6. Using your body clock to maximize consistency and energy. All right, now that we've dialed in your daily focus sessions and strategies to keep the motivation flowing, let's talk about when you should actually do the work. Because, believe it or not, timing matters. Even if you're using all the visualization chunking and visual targeting protocols we've covered so far, you'll still hit roadblocks if you're working against your body's natural rhythms. That's right. Your energy, focus, and motivation fluctuate predictably across the day, thanks to your circadian rhythm. And if you know how to work with that rhythm, everything gets easier. So in this part, we're going to unpack the 3 best windows for peak performance. How to schedule work when life gets chaotic. Why just showing up matters more than perfect timing. And how to turn even bad days into small wins. Let's get into it. Your circadian rhythm, the natural energy cycle. Your body has a built-in 24-hour clock that influences everything from hormones to digestion to, you guessed it, focus and motivation. This rhythm runs whether you want it to or not. It's largely controlled by light exposure and sleep timing, and it produces 3 consistent peaks of focus and mental clarity across the day. According to research, including a detailed 2019 review in the Yale Journal of Biology and Medicine, most people experience heightened attention and motivation at roughly 30 minutes after waking, 3 hours after waking, 11 hours after waking. Let's say you wake up at 7 a.m. Your first peak hits around 7:30 a.m., second peak around 10:00 a.m., third peak around 6:00 p.m. These are the ideal windows for your most important work. What to do in each window. Let's say your goal is writing a book, learning a language, or doing deep problem solving. That second peak, 3 hours after waking, is your golden zone. You're alert, mentally clear, and able to handle complexity. The first peak, 30 minutes after waking, is good for lighter creative tasks, brainstorming, planning, reflection. The third peak, 11 hours after waking, is surprisingly great for focused practice workouts or strategic review sessions. Now, obviously, your exact schedule might not line up perfectly with these times. That's okay. These aren't rigid rules, they're guideposts. Use them when you can. The time block method, real-world adaptation. Most of us don't have full control over our schedules. Work-family commutes, they all cut into our ideal rhythm. So, instead of trying to nail an exact time every day, try this. Set a block of time, e.g. between 8 a.m. and 10 a.m., where your goal pursuit can live. You don't need to commit to the exact minute, just keep the block non-negotiable. Think of it like a standing meeting with yourself. Same window every day, no matter what. Consistency beats precision. Even 30 minutes inside your chosen time block is better than skipping the day entirely. How I use this in my own life. I'll give you a personal example. Recently, I decided to increase my running volume. I already ran 3 days a week, but I wanted to stretch one of those runs longer. Life got busy, and I missed my Sunday morning run. Normally, I'd let it go. But instead, I laced up my shoes at 10:00 p.m. and ran for 90 minutes. Yes, from 10 to 11:30 at night. Definitely not ideal. But guess what? I still got the training in. I slept surprisingly well. And the feeling of having kept my promise to myself, huge. Here's the lesson. Perfect timing is nice, but doing the thing anyway builds identity and confidence. So if your ideal window closes, find another door. Late is better than never, especially if it means keeping momentum. Your mood follows your momentum. This brings us to a little-known psychological truth. Your subjective energy the next day is shaped by how you feel about the day you just had. In other words, it's not just about how well you slept or how many greens you ate. It's about whether or not you honored your intentions. When you follow through on your goal, especially when it's inconvenient, you feel better the next morning. It creates a positive feedback loop. You feel pride. You believe in yourself a little more. And you wake up with more energy. We often think motivation drives behavior, but in reality, behavior drives motivation. That's why even an imperfect session at a bad time can fuel the next day's momentum. Don't let one bad day become a bad week. Let's say your day goes sideways, meetings run long, the baby's crying. You miss your time block. What do? Answer, do something, anything, even 5 minutes. This is the show-up principle. It's about maintaining continuity. Even if your usual goal session is 60 minutes, and today you only have 6 to the 6. That's not failure. That's mental toughness. Because remember, a streak doesn't need to be perfect to be powerful. And missing a session doesn't mean you failed. It just means you reset. You recalibrate. You come back tomorrow. Recap. How to use timing to stay consistent. Here's your game plan. Learn your body's 3 natural focus peaks. 30 minutes after waking, 3 hours after waking, 11 hours after waking. Choose one of those windows to be your main event block. If that window gets blocked, pick a secondary one. If the whole day gets away from you, do a micro session anyway. Never underestimate the power of showing up. Know that what you do today shapes how you feel tomorrow. This is how you build a durable rhythm, not one built on hype or hacks, but on a growing belief in yourself. Part 5-6, Beating the Middle Slump. Why you lose motivation and how to regain it. So far we've covered how to pick the right goal. Turn it into action. Stay focused during daily sessions and time your work with your natural energy rhythm. But now we need to tackle what's probably the biggest, most overlooked problem in all of goal pursuit. The middle slump, the drop-off, the fog, that weird stretch when the excitement has faded and the finish line still feels far away. That point where you start to think, what's the point? Or maybe this isn't working. It happens with almost every meaningful goal, fitness, writing, relationships, learning. You're moving, you're progressing, and then something shifts. You lose steam. But this isn't a sign of failure. It's a normal and predictable phase of any long-term pursuit. The good news, you can anticipate it. Even better, you can build systems to move through it instead of quitting when things get fuzzy. Let's talk about how. What is the middle problem? Think of motivation like a wave. At the start, you're excited. The goal is fresh. You feel momentum. At the end, when you see progress or sense the finish line, energy returns. But in the middle, you're just drifting. There's no visible progress, no celebration, no urgency. This is the gray zone where most people quit. Why? Because the novelty has worn off and the reward feels too far away. This middle zone can show up in a single training session, like minute 25-45 of a 60-minute block, in a single week, like Wednesdays, in a Monfresh schedule, or in a 12-week goal cycle like weeks 4-8 when excitement is gone and results aren't yet obvious. And this happens to everyone, even elite performers. The difference is they know it's coming and prepare for it. Strategy, for one, acknowledge the dip. Step one. Just admit it. Recognize the pattern. You feel flat, not because you're broken or unmotivated, but because you're in the middle. That awareness alone can help you stop catastrophizing. Instead of thinking, something's wrong, you start thinking, this is just the dip. Time to ride it out. Don't judge the slump, strategize around it. Strategy number 2, chunk the middle. When you're in the middle of a session or a phase, break that section into smaller chunks. Let's take a 1-hour session and say the 30-minute mark hits and your energy starts crashing. Instead of trying to power through, do this. Divide the next 20 minutes into 4 5-minute chunks. Give each mini chunk a clear micro task or focus. Use visual target training before each chunk to reset your mental state. This works because your brain loves short-term goals. Micro deadlines reset urgency. It's like saying, let's just win the next 5 minutes again and again. And by the time you reach the 50-minute mark, you're near the finish line and your motivation naturally starts to rise again. Strategy 3. Make the middle. A gamification isn't just for kids. When things start feeling boring or repetitive, make it interesting again. Time yourself. Can I do this task faster than yesterday? Add randomness. Roll a dice to decide your next training variation. Compete with yourself. Keep score and try to beat your personal best. This playful approach reactivates the dopamine system. It gives your brain something new to chase even if the larger goal hasn't changed. Sometimes novelty is all you need to push through. Strategy 4. Use middle-specific tools. If you know that midweek or mid-session is going to be hard, plan ahead with extra support. Do a longer visual focus session before you begin. Use stronger accountability on those middle days. Text a friend. Post your plan publicly. Switch up your environment just for that day. New coffee shop, new playlist, new scenery. Sometimes, even a small tweak is enough to trick your brain into re-engagement. Remember, you're not trying to eliminate the middle slump. You're trying to reduce its weight on your decision-making. Strategy number 5. Visualize the finish line, but not too soon. You know how we talked about visualizing success or failure depending on your motivation level. Well, during the middle slump, you want to start reminding yourself of the end, but in a way that still keeps you grounded in the present. Here's how. Visualize how you'll feel when the cycle ends successfully. Then visualize your current effort as the reason that future moment will happen. This links now to later. It gives purpose to what can feel like a purposeless stretch. And that connection builds emotional fuel. Strategy number 6. Build middle muscle. The more often you push through a slump, the more familiar it becomes. You start to recognize the sensations, the mental fog, the emotional flatness, the urge to scroll your phone or walk away, and eventually you stop fearing it. You learn that it's not a sign to quit, it's just a signal to adjust. Think of this as building your middle muscle. Every time you complete a session when you didn't want to, or show up on a Wednesday when you felt flat, you're doing rep after rep of mental toughness training. That's a skill, and like any skill, it gets stronger with use. What about weekly middle slumps? The same rules apply. Let's say you train Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, but Wednesday always feels rough. Here's what to do. Expect it. It's your hill day. Don't be surprised when it feels harder. Prepare for it. Sleep better the night before. Eat a better breakfast. Use visual focus. Chunk it. Break the session into mini parts. Keep moving forward. Change it up. Midweek sessions are perfect for variation. Try a new exercise location or challenge. When you plan for Wednesday to be your grind day, it actually becomes easier. You're no longer shocked by the dip, you're ready for it. Recap. How to conquer the middle slump. Recognize it's normal. Don't judge yourself. Chunk the hard middle into smaller winnable parts. Gamify the experience to refresh dopamine and novelty. Switch environment or structure to shake off the fog. Visualize your future self looking back, proud that you kept going. Build reps of discipline. Every middle you survive makes the next one easier. Bottom line, the middle is where winners are made. Anyone can start, and everyone loves to finish. But the people who thrive, they build systems to push through the boring part. Part 6 to 6, the finish line, the setbacks, and the bigger picture. You've now got the full toolkit, everything from understanding your brain's goal circuits to mastering focus timing and navigating the dreaded middle slump. But let's be honest, even with all that, things won't always go smoothly. You'll miss days. You'll have off weeks. Sometimes life hits you hard emotionally, physically, or logistically, and everything gets thrown off. So the final piece of this puzzle is about how to bounce back, how to maintain momentum, and how to think beyond one goal. So this becomes a lifestyle, not just a one-time project. Let's bring everything together. You're building identity, not just achieving goals. This might be the most important idea of all. The process of pursuing a goal matters more than the result, because it shapes who you become. Sure, we all want outcomes, the degree, the six-pack, the fluent conversation in another language. But what sticks with you after the goal is reached? The discipline you built, the trust in yourself, the system you now know how to run. Every time you choose to show up, even on hard days, you reinforce an internal belief. I am someone who finishes what I start. That's identity. And once that belief is in place, goals stop feeling like a struggle and start feeling like what you do. When you slip, reconnect to the system. You will slip. That's not a possibility, it's a certainty. Life isn't designed to be perfectly consistent. But that's why having a system matters so much. When you fall off, you don't need a pep talk or a fresh YouTube video. You just need to ask yourself, do I still care about the priority I chose? Have I written down the verbs I need to return to? Can I revisit my time blocks, even if just for today? Can I do a micro version of today's goal? If the answer is yes, even partially, you've still got the engine running. That's what separates people who restart from people who quit. The reset ritual, your emergency protocol. Here's a simple ritual to use whenever you feel lost, overwhelmed, or disconnected from your goal. Take out a piece of paper. At the top, write, what was I trying to do again? Under that, write your current goal in plain language. Then write the verbs, the actual actions, one per line. Then on the side, write today's date. Circle one action that you can do today, even for just 5 minutes. That's it. You're back in. This process isn't about rewriting your whole plan. It's about reestablishing clarity one line at a time. How to keep going beyond a single goal cycle. Let's say you've committed to a 12-week focus. Amazing. But what happens after that? One of two things. You hit your goal. You don't. Here's how to win either way. If you hit your goal, take a moment to celebrate, not just emotionally, but log it. Write down what worked. Save your action verbs and weekly structures. They are now part of your playbook. Choose your next priority using the same process. Now, do it faster, more confidently. If you miss your goal, ask, what did I still do consistently? Identify where the system broke down. Was it timing? Clarity? Midweek slumps? Don't change everything, just improve one part. Restart with the same goal if it still matters, or pick a new one with the same system. No effort is wasted when it becomes part of a repeatable framework. The dopamine cycle. Why this feels so good and how to keep it going. Dopamine gets a bad reputation because people associate it with addiction or shallow rewards. But the truth is, dopamine is the engine of long-term drive. When you break your goal into clear verbs, when you pursue them consistently, when you overcome setbacks, you're teaching your brain action, aka progress. Progress, ta, reward. This loop is what keeps you showing up. It's not about fake motivation or endless hype. It's about seeing results not always on the outside, but internally. Dopamine doesn't care if you got a six-pack. It cares that you kept your word to yourself. Don't chase hype. Chase mastery. Most people are constantly restarting because they chase excitement. They look for the latest app, the newest routine, the hack that finally makes discipline easy. But the truth is, mastery is repetition with awareness. You don't need more information. You need better execution of what you already know. And that's what this entire process has been about. Not about tricks, but about alignment with your biology, your energy, your habits, and your mind. Final words, the framework that lasts. Let's lock it all in. The 6-part framework for goal setting and pursuit. Understand the brain circuits involved in goal setting. Amygdala, basal ganglia, prefrontal cortex, orbitofrontal cortex. Pick one clear priority goal, not 5. 1. Based on what truly matters to you right now. Define your verbs. List the actual behaviors. Do goals not be goals. Set time blocks and use visual tools. Work with your circadian rhythm. Use focus training, limit distractions. Anticipate the middle slump. Break it into chunks. Gamify it and push through with small wins. Track identity, not perfection. Use slips as resets, build long-term belief, and keep the loop running. Your goals are not just check boxes. They're vehicles for transformation. And now you have the map, the fuel, and the tools. All that's left to do is keep driving, even when it's slow, even when the road bends. Especially then, because every step forward is a signal to your nervous system and your future self that you're not just setting goals anymore. You're building a life. Now, go live it.